Good evening to all and welcome to the session, the Hindu Editorial Analysis for Proficiency in English. Am I audible? Please, one of you respond. Am I audible? Let us start the session with a nice quote. What is today's quote? Success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out. Success is the sum of small efforts, very small efforts, repeated or done day in and day out. A very useful quote. And let us go to the tone of the editorial. But before that, no one has responded. Am I audible? Fine. Thank you very much, Tripura Sundari. Thank you. Others also, thank you. This editorial, usually I tell students, I give one acronym. I have created one acronym, SLEEPS. What do the letters stand for? Science and technology, legal, education, economy, polity, socio-cultural problems. Here, legal, I give a few topics. One, I tell the students the judiciary, very important, human rights, very important. And the third topic I tell capital punishment. Capital punishment is also known as death penalty. Today's editorial is all about this topic, an important topic you may get as a passage in the exam. Why is it so important? In many countries, Western countries especially, capital punishment has been abolished. Death penalty has been abolished. Based on that, because it does not act as a deterrent, means it does not stop people from doing the crime or committing the crime. So, based on that, many intelligent people, if you take a particular country, the intelligent people of a particular country, there's one word you have to know: intelligentsia. All the intelligent people of a country, we use the term intelligentsia. So the intelligentsia, if you take the group of people, has been recommending we have to abolish death penalty. So today's editorial is an important editorial. Now let us see the tone of the editorial. The tone of this editorial appears to be critical and disappointed, criticizing the panel recommendation and disappointed. The writer expresses disappointment in the parliamentary committees lack of a strong recommendation to abolish the death penalty in the proposed criminal statute, BNS. Yes, that's right, Suresh. And statute means a written law brought out by a legislative body. Let us go to the editorial. Let us see how it starts. Not too many words, but there are words you have learned many a time. We have come across many a time. Life over death. At the outset, you may get confused. What is this life after death? Here, actually, what it means: life sentence, life imprisonment over death penalty. That's how you have to look at it. If you don't look at it that way, what happens? What is this life after death? You may wonder. Here, life sentence over death penalty. That's what it means. On death penalty abolition and parliamentary panel report. Abolish means what? To bring to an end. We have got this word so many times, part of speech verb. Abolish something. Bring or bring to an end or stop doing something. Abolish. Repeal, you can say. Cancel, you can say. Withdraw, you can say. Very good. Abolition of the death penalty should form. What is the function of the helping verb should? It is used to advise or suggest someone. Advise general, suggest specific. And second function of should, it is used to express a possibility, the chances are less. Here, the first function, abolition of the death penalty should form the core of any reform in the justice system. Now we are the country, the government, the current regime is trying to change the present justice system or whatever goes with the crime and justice. So any reform in the justice system Here, abolition of the death penalty should form the core. There's one important word. Core has two different meanings. One, very good, I appreciate Tirupati Rao. One meaning in this context, main part of something, main thing of something, core of something. And usually, if you go to the private sector, very good, Anusha. I usually tell students, Suresh also, they talk about core competency. Every company has its own core competency, means actual expertise, actual strength. But core also goes with the subjects like geography, geology. If you take the planet Earth, you have three layers: core, mantle, and one more. So that is a center part core. That is a different term altogether. But in this context, the main thing. It should form the core of any reform in the justice system. Now, editorial has taken a stand. It does not approve the committee's recommendation, and it strongly recommends abolition of the death penalty. Entire editorial takes that particular line of thought and takes the reader in that direction. At the outset, it is disappointing that the parliamentary committee that examined the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita (BNS), the proposed criminal statute likely to replace the IPC, has not made a recommendation to abolish the death penalty. A lengthy sentence from here to here, but in a nutshell, what does it mean? Here, it is disappointing. This is a stand taken by the editorial. Editorial opines, thinks. It is disappointing. What is disappointing in this context? The parliamentary committee that examined BNS, what is this BNS? The proposed criminal statute likely to replace the IPC, Indian Penal Code, has not made a recommendation to abolish the death penalty. People expected, the intelligentsia expected, the committee would recommend abolition of death penalty, but it has not done it. So it is rather disappointing. Instead, instead of recommending the abolition of death penalty, what has the committee done? Or what has it recommended? Instead, the Standing Committee on Home Affairs, despite submissions from experts and jurists on abolition, chose to make a bland recommendation that the matter may be left for the government to consider. They did not recommend anything. They made a recommendation. What is that? That the matter may be left for the government to consider. It means they said they did not on their own recommend, or it did not recommend on its own, but it said something like that let the government decide. The matter may be left for the government to consider, to decide. There's one word here, bland. Bland means what? Boring. One of the meanings, bland. Boring, part of speech, adjective. And also not interested, not passionate, casual. You can think of all these words, but generally we say bland means boring. And here, I appreciate those students. Despite, immediately you have to recollect the rule. We have got so many times, but still, despite of, not correct. And people make a mistake when it comes to in spite of. They write in spite of two words wrong. In spite of should be written as three separate words. Now answer this question. In one exam, they gave a blank and five options. Three options not correct. Candidates had to choose between despite and in spite of. Which one will you choose? May more chances, might less chances. Answer this question. If you have to choose for a blank between despite and in spite of, which one will you choose? No, Ganesh, in spite of should be written as three separate words, not two words. Yes, Tripura Sundari, very good. Here we have to choose despite. What is the reason? Despite is a little more formal than in spite of. So between the two, we have to prefer despite, not in spite of. Very good, I appreciate that. So this sentence talks about something is disappointing, and after that it says the particular committee, the Standing Committee on Home Affairs, despite submissions from experts, they got the suggestions and submissions from experts and jurists on abolition. In spite of that, they chose to make a bland recommendation. Bland means what? Not serious, boring, and not passionate, not intimate. You can also think of that word. And they said that the matter may be left for the government to consider. They left it to the government to decide whether abolition of this death penalty should be abolished or not. Its observation, again, you have to recollect possessive pronouns never take an apostrophe. Its observation is limited to a remark that it has understood the reason for a passionate argument against the death penalty is that the judicial system can be fallible and to prevent an innocent person from being wrongly sentenced to death. It is a bit difficult to understand this sentence. I will explain. What is its observation? Its observation is limited to a remark. What is that remark? That it has understood that the reason for a passionate argument. Now, people are arguing passionately to abolish death penalty. It says it has understood the passionate argument against the death penalty. Because why are people passionate to abolish death penalty? Because judicial system can be fallible. There's an important word, fallible, prone to make, prone to make a mistake or make an error, imperfect, flawed. You can think of those words. There is a saying in English. What is that saying? No one in this world on the planet Earth, no one is infallible. In my regular classes, offline classes, I tell students, no one is infallible. Infallible means what? Flawless. Flaw means mistake. You can also think of the word perfect. No one is perfect in this world. Impeccable. Very good. I appreciate Anisha. No one is infallible. So judicial system can be fallible, can make mistakes, can make errors. And if at all judicial system makes mistakes, what happens? An innocent person may get punished. That should not happen. And because of this particular feature, and to prevent an innocent person from being wrongly sentenced, the present continuous a passive voice, but non-finite verb to death. Because that should not happen. There are two dimensions here. One, judicial system is fallible. Second, based on that, there is every possibility for an innocent person to get the death penalty, and that cannot be justified. Because of that, people are passionate about abolishing the death penalty. And it says it has understood that passion reason behind. Contrasting information, however, domain experts, I'm sure you all know the word domain. Domain experts means specific to a particular field. Domain experts had made past perfect, persuasive submissions before the panel. There are two words you have to recollect here: persuade, persuasion, noun form, persuasive adjective, persuade verb. Means what? It's a positive word. Convince someone to do something. What is the other word you have to think of? You have to know. Dissuade. Dissuade means it's a negative word. Convince someone not to do something. Here, persuade, convince someone to do something. Dissuade, convince someone not to do something. And this is an important word because in some competitive exams they have given based on the preposition combination. Dissuade takes the combination preposition from dissuade from doing something. That you have to know. Yes, very good. All those words you can. Persuasive submissions before the panel. That instances of trial courts awarding death were on the rise. Apex court, the Supreme Court, trial courts, lower level. And these experts, they have submitted, they have given some sort of proof, and they made some persuasive submissions. What are those instances or examples of trial courts awarding death penalty, and they were on the rise? Again, whenever you come across rise, you have to think of the word raise. You all know, I'm sure, I don't have to repeat. Rise, raise, very good. Who is that? Tripura Sundari. Also, you have to think of trial and trail. Trial court. Here, got to be careful with the spelling. Whereas statistical trends showed that the Supreme Court of India was leaning away from capital punishment. So trial courts, the number is going up. Whereas on the contrary, the Supreme Court is moving away. Leaning away means moving away from death penalty. Lower courts, they are imposing death penalty or capital punishment. On the other hand, if you take the Supreme Court moving away from capital punishment. That social science, here again, statistical, an important word. Many subjects like mathematics, economics, statistics, linguistics, physics, they take, though in the plural form, a singular verb. But two words you have to know: economics and statistics. These two, if you use as subjects, they take a singular verb, but they have other meanings. If you want to convey other meanings, then they may take a plural verb. You have to be careful. For example, they have not given statistics, they have given economics. So I would like to give one example. The economics of the project are not viable. A lot of students think economic singular verb, here plural verb, the sentence is wrong. No, the sentence is right. Here we are not talking about economics as a subject. Here economics means financial aspects. What does it mean? Financial aspects. Financial aspects plural. So we have to say are not viable, are not commercially viable. Nothing wrong with that. What is the reason? Why do they say we have to abolish death penalty? Now, the actual reason. Social scientists had demonstrated past perfect. It had no deterrent effect, deter someone or something. Based on that, you get the word deterrent, means prevent or stop or discourage. You have to think of all these words. Usually, death penalty, why do they punish? Others get scared, they may not try to do that. But here, the social scientists say they have demonstrated it had no deterrent effect. Again, you have to be alert, you have to recollect effect, effect. Effect is a verb, effect can be a verb, can be a noun, but we use as a noun usage point of view. This is an important editorial. Do remember, all of you, you may get as a passage. Mark my words, you may get as a passage in any competitive exam. Death penalty, this topic is in the limelight. That's why editorial has written about this. The chances are very bright. Next, and that global opinion was in favor of its abolition. Globally, as I said at the outset, Western countries, many countries have abolished death penalty or capital punishment. And social scientists have shown, demonstrated, it does not act as a deterrent. Then why should we go for that? On the other hand, what is the choice we have? If not death penalty, what? Life sentence. The court awarded the death penalty to only 7 people. To substantiate this statement, Supreme Court is moving away or leaning away statistical data. The court here means the court means Supreme Court. The court awarded the death penalty to only 7 people from 2007 to 2022. So many years, only 7 people got the death penalty from the Supreme Court. While all death sentences were either set aside or commuted to life in 2023. At the same time, all death sentences were either set aside, kept aside, or commuted. This is an important word you have to focus on. Generally, I tell students the word commute. I also give the word commuter. What does it mean? Commute, literal meaning, apex code, obviously, very good. Here, commute means to travel long distance for work, usually. The person who travels long distance every day for work or to the workplace, commuter. That is a typical meaning, but here commuted to life in 2023. Here commute means converted to life sentence in 2023. So you got to be careful. As they did not fall under the rarest of rare cases, an important expression, a rarest of rare cases. Members who added notes of dissent to the report Dissent means what? Opposing, not accepting something, opposing. Dissent group. Dissent, oppose. Members who added notes of dissent to the report also highlighted the argument that capital punishment has been shown to be no deterrent. Same idea is being repeated. It has not acted as a deterrent and has been shown to be no deterrent. That imprisonment for the remainder of the convict's natural life will be a more rigorous punishment and provide scope for reform, and that most of those on death row came from underprivileged backgrounds. Look at the sentence from where to where. Members who added notes of dissent to the report also highlighted, some members highlighted a particular aspect. What is that? The argument that capital punishment has been shown to be no deterrent. It does not act as a deterrent, one thing. Second point, that imprisonment for the remainder of the convict's natural life. Remainder means the remaining life, whatever the term, of the convict. Here you have to recollect, first, I would like to write the word innocent. Innocent, a person who has not committed crime, then the person is acquitted. A person who has committed crime, we use the word guilty, then the person is convicted. As a verb, we have to say convict, but the same word can also be a noun. As a noun, we have to say convict. The convict's natural life will be a more rigorous punishment. So it says that second dimension, instead of death penalty, they should convert that into life imprisonment or life sentence. That will be more rigorous punishment. Rigorous means what? We have got many a time. Rigorous means very stringent. Meticulous also you can say. Meticulous and stringent, all these words you can think of. A rigorous punishment. Strict also, severe. Another word you have to recollect, severe. A rigorous punishment and provide scope for reform. And one more dimension. 3 points are here. One is it is not going to act as a deterrent. Second, if it is converted into life sentence, there is a possibility or scope for reform. And the third point, most of those on death row, an important expression, means those who have received the death penalty, came from underprivileged backgrounds. Usually, when I tell students, when I take descriptive English classes, I tell them to use the power words. If you take any society, all are not at the same level. Any society we come across haves and have nots, this as small letter. Haves, have nots. What does it mean? Rich and poor. And many poor people don't belong to the mainstream. They are not part of the mainstream culture. We say mainstream society or mainstream culture. And for those people who are not part of the mainstream culture and those who are very poor, we use words like underprivileged, another word downtrodden. Downtrodden. Scope means the range. Scope means range. Possibility in this context. Scope for reform, possibility for reform. Downtrodden, downtrodden, underprivileged, backward communities. Also, one more important word, marginalized communities. All these words you have to think of. Underprivileged backgrounds means they are at the lowest rung of the society. Now you may wonder what is this word rung? If you take a ladder, I'm not an artist, I think I'm blocking your view. I'll draw here. If you take a ladder, imagine it's a ladder. Each one is called rung. And when we talk about the underprivileged people or any of these words, we are talking about the people who are at the lowest rung, means the lowest level, very poor people. That's what it means. They have also made the point that one more point, fourth point. They have also made the point that the three bills proposing a new body of criminal law are substantially the same as the existing Indian Penal Code (IPC). And here, substantial I use quite often. Where do I use? How do I use substantial? I use a combination word improvement. Obviously, substantial adjective, improvement noun. When you read regularly the Hindu editorial, the Hindu headlines, there will be substantial improvement, especially when it comes to your reading comprehension skill, when it comes to your vocabulary. When you read regularly any English newspaper, the headlines and one editorial, you can see substantial improvement in your English. Means what? Considerable improvement. Very good, Anusha. That is the exact word you have to think of. And usually people don't read, that's a different thing. Here, substantially the same, to a great extent the same as the existing IPC, Code of Criminal Procedure and Evidence Act. If at all, Parliament moves to enact the draft bills with changes suggested by the parliamentary panel, it will be in the fitness of the things. This is an important expression. Means what? It will be good. It will be in the fitness of things means it will be good if it is used as an occasion to reconsider the need to retain the death penalty. Why should we retain death penalty? They have to consider, they have to think again. And when you think of something for the second time, we use the expression on second thoughts. What is the preposition here? On second thoughts, I decided not to go. On second thoughts, I decided to do something. So that's what the sentence talks about. What is the need for death penalty? The BNS has defined life imprisonment as a term for the remainder of one's natural life, and this should be the default alternative to death sentences. What is the alternative? People say passionately, we have to abolish capital punishment. Excuse me. We have to abolish capital punishment. Then comes a question, what is the alternative? Alternative is nothing but a life sentence. And this life sentence should be a natural default alternative. Naturally, default, by default, it should be an alternative to death sentences. The case for abolition will gain strength. Now, the editorial introduces another important point. The case for abolition will gain strength. That means right now it is not strong. If the trend of seeking premature release of life convicts on political grounds is arrested, here arrested means stopped. The sentence says right now the case is not very strong. The case can become strong, will become strong. The case for abolition will gain strength, will become strong. If the trend, there is a trend, what is a trend? The trend of seeking premature release of life convicts on political grounds is stopped. Arrested means stopped. And life terms without remission become more common. Life term without remission. Remission means what? Not to, I'm sorry, not to consider. Consider something. You can take it that way. Remission become more common. Without remission means without any exemptions. That's what it means. Remission should be a humanitarian act because here political interference based on remission, without remission, the editorial says. That means remission, based on remission, many convicts are coming out. And on political grounds, not a good thing. Here it says remission is a good thing, but remission should be a humanitarian act and never a source of political controversy. Remission should be there, but not. Please don't use V1, V2, V3 in my session, Divya. My students never use those expressions. We use bare infinitive, present form, past participle, present participle. Please don't use that terminology. My students, those who attend regularly, they never use. Looks like you are a new student. Please don't use those expressions. Unnecessary confusion. That is not the right approach. That's what I tell students. Removing now, how does the editorial end? Removing capital punishment from the statute book. Statute means what? Written law brought out by the legislative body, and introducing a rational and universal remission policy will be a substantive reform in the justice system. So it ends on, I think it ends on that note. It says remission should be there, but it should be based on proper, it should be a proper policy, not based on political interference, removing capital punishment from the statute book and introducing a rational, based on reasoning, logic, and universal remission policy without any political interference will be a substantive reform in the justice system. It's all that's all about the editorial. Do remember this is an important editorial. There's every possibility to get in the exam. Try to develop contextual awareness, lexical terms, and also try to think of word combinations. Today I have brought exam topics based questions, practice questions. First, we'll have a look at the questions based on reading comprehension skill. Read the first one and try to answer what was the parliamentary committee's recommendation regarding the death penalty in the proposed criminal statute BNS? Strongly recommended abolition, recommended life imprisonment as an alternative, made a vague recommendation for the government to consider, you urged for stricter implementation of the death penalty. So, what is the answer? No, it is not. It is not B. No, no. Please don't be hasty. It is not A. It is not B. No, 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 no. Oh, Anusha. No, no. Our regular students making the mistake. Not all our regular students, they haven't got it right. Very surprising. What was the parliamentary committee's recommendation regarding the death penalty in the proposed criminal statute BNS? It made a vague recommendation for the government to consider. That's what I have read out. It left it to the government to consider. No, Haripriya, it is not the fourth one. No, 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 no. Answer is the third one. Not D also. No, no. Here it talks about parliamentary committee's recommendation. The parliamentary committee recommended a vague recommendation. It made a bland, in the editorial they have used, bland recommendation. Remember the combination used in the editorial? Bland recommendation for the government to consider. Government should consider, they said. They left it to the government decision. Answer is C. Today the questions are not easy. What argument did the domain experts present before the panel in favor of abolishing the death penalty? This is not the regular editorial. A bit intellectual caliber is required. Please mention the question number. No one has answered. What did what argument did domain experts? Look at the keywords. Previous one, parliamentary committee. This one, domain experts. The effectiveness of death as a deterrent. The need for more stringent punishment, not correct. Arising instances of trial courts awarding death. Hold this one. Here, before the present before the panel in favor of abolishing death penalty. The effectiveness of death penalty as a deterrent. Global trends in favor of capital punishment. You can consider C, D both, but which is the most important factor? This also you can consider, but what is the main idea behind abolishing death penalty? You have to ask the question, why is death penalty imposed? Why is it given? With the assumption that it acts as a deterrent. Deterrent means what? Someone gets a death penalty, others get scared, they don't commit the crime. So the main idea is the death penalty is not effective. It does not act as a deterrent, and have social scientists also, they have shown death penalty does not act as a deterrent. Based on that, answer is C. The effectiveness of death penalty as a deterrent. It is not effective. That's what domain experts say. I appreciate all those who have chosen C as the answer. That is the answer. According to the editorial, what was the Supreme Court's trend in capital punishment? from 2007 to 2022? This is perhaps easy to answer. Leaning towards capital punishment? No. No clear trend observed? No. Moving away from capital punishment? Clearly. I gave the meaning. Leaning away. I told in a crystal clear manner, I used the same words, moving away. So here they have used moving away from. No, Naidu, third one, it is not A. No, 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 no. The editorial says the Supreme Court from 2007 to 2022, they have awarded death penalty to only 7 people. And they are leaning away from death penalty. Leaning away means what? Moving away. That is a trend, moving away. Supreme Court is moving away from capital punishment, whereas trial courts are going in for capital punishment. That's what the editorial says. Answer is C. What do the dissenting members emphasize regarding the death penalty? Dissenting members, opposing members. Its effectiveness as a deterrent, the need for a more lenient approach, capital punishment as a rigorous punishment, the socio-economic background of death row convict. No. Answer is what? Yes, leaning away. I gave the meaning, moving away. I remember. Fourth one is not C. No, 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 no. Answer is A. How come today? What is going on? What do the dissenting members emphasize regarding the death penalty? Its effectiveness. You can also consider D, but which is more important? Its effectiveness as a deterrent. They have mentioned that also. Underprivileged people, downtrodden people, but which is more important? Who is not important? What is important? Do remember. Today, you guys are completely off the track. I'm really shocked. Surprising. Usually, you guys answer, but today, I think our regular students completely off the track. What does the editorial suggest regarding the proposed bills and the need for reform? The bills are comprehensive and do not need changes, not correct. Parliament should reconsider the need to retain the death penalty during the enactment of the bills. Yes. The bills align with global opinions. No. They go against. No need for reform. Not correct. So, what is the answer here? Anusha has got it right. 5B. Let us see others. All these are our regular students who are very good at English, very good at vocabulary, very good at comprehension. Naresh got it right. Naidu got it right. Tirupati Rao, yes, I do agree. Suresh got it right. Ganesh got it right. Wonderful. Finally, now let us go to practice questions based on exam topics. I know. Uh, Error location. This is from the past, but still important, so I have brought it. Two questions belong to the past, COVID times, and three questions from yesterday's or today's editorial, but they are important, so I have brought those. Currently, a humanitarian crisis is unfolding in India, where the poorest Indians have been returning to their homes by walk in packed vehicles, hungry and cashless. Very good. This is what I expect from our regular students. Immediate answer, that to correct one. Anusha, I appreciate that. By walk is a common error. A lot of people say, when we ask a question, how do you come? They say, I come by walk. What is the reason? We all use, Indians are very good at logical thinking. We use logic all the time. By bus, by car, by train, using the same logic by walk, but wrong. For this idea, we have two patterns. One, I come on foot, one expression. Another pattern, I come walking. Many students don't know the second one. They know the first one, but both are correct. Not barefoot. You can use that Expression barefoot means what? Without any footwear. But here I come on foot, I come walking. Do remember both are correct grammatically, contextually. There is an error in the third part. After an interaction he had with the chief ministers, Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday sought suggestions from his Council of Ministers for a calculated exit from the 21-day lockdown. We are rational. I do agree. Logical, rational, very good at logical thinking. But I tell students, English does not depend on logic. That is a problem with English. To give one example, we say but, put. Same UT, but why does the pronunciation change? If you use logic, it will be a joke here. After an interaction he had with chief ministers, Divya, D is not correct. I'm sorry, it is not correct. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday sought suggestions from his Council of Ministers for a calibrated exit from the 21-day lockdown. See what happens here whenever you read a no Pavani, C is not correct. Whenever you read a sentence, there are two ways of answering. One, use your grammar knowledge. This is lower level, in my opinion. And second, look at the context. Use contextual awareness. This is higher level. Nowadays, many questions are based on contextual awareness. Tripura Sundari, very good. Hema, very good. Whenever you come across words like before, by the time, when, these three, one group. After, you have to think of past perfect tense. Then comes a question, where do we use past perfect? When there are two actions that happened in the past, one after the other, for the first action, we use past perfect. For the second action, we use past tense. But when we use before, by the time, when, we should use past perfect before those words. When we use the word after, we should use past perfect after the word after. Here, after an interaction he had with chief ministers, not correct. He had with. He had with, which tense is that? Past perfect. There is an error in the first part. I appreciate those who have said first part. Had. No. Divya, don't use a we. I have already told you. Please don't use these in my session. Unnecessary confusion. I would like to reiterate. Divya, I hope you are listening. In my session, don't use V1, V2, V3. That's a wrong approach. I don't want my students, regular students, to get confused. I've already told, don't use those expressions. Unnecessary confusion. And I always tell students not to take that approach. It's a wrong shortcut. Shortcuts never bring success. And it's not a professional approach. In English, any verb has five forms. Five forms are there. If you take this approach, you're dealing with three forms. Obviously, common sense, it's wrong. You're not touching two forms. What are the five forms you have to know? Basic form or infinitive, and present form, past participle, present participle. If you learn this way, you may get doubts, you will have the answers, and everything will be crystal clear. But if you take V1, V2, V3 approach, no need to say sorry. Maybe you're used to that. Then you may get a lot of doubts at a later stage. You will not have answers. For example, let us say I'm talking about a past tense. I did not go there yesterday. Which tense is this? Past tense. And if I ask students like you or regular students, what is the word did, which form is it? Immediately they say past form. Then I ask what is the word go, they say V1. V1 means what? Present form. That's what they mean, present form. Why should we use present form in past tense? Does it make any sense? No way. If you ask me, I will say it is a basic form without to, or it is also known as bare infinitive. Then the student asks me, sir, why should we use bare infinitive here? Because there is an important rule in English. What is that rule? If you have to use any verb, either action verb or helping verb, after a helping verb, that verb should be in bare infinitive. Here we have a helping verb. After that, you have to use one verb that should be in bare infinitive. That's an important rule. And if you take this approach, you can never learn that rule. You cannot learn that rule, and it is like lower level of comprehension intellectually speaking. Anyhow, so much about that. So where is the error? First part, he had with first action. Core inflation, which excludes energy and food costs, has eased further, and household services inflation dropped below 4% after several months above. Where is the error? Yes, I'm going to bring now on every day, don't worry. These are real. A lot of students attend after the analysis, they join because they know practice questions based on exam topics are extremely useful. They help in the long run. What is the subject of the sentence? Core inflation. Core inflation is a subject, it's a phrase. In any phrase, there's one word that is a key word. What is the key word here? Inflation. And inflation, which excludes energy and food costs. Put in brackets, phrase or clause. Here it is a clause. Then will you say core inflation have or has eased? So this is based on subject verb agreement. Very good, I appreciate. Naidu, if you write what it is about, wonderful. The rise in prices of vegetables, which had surged over 37% in July, eased to 2.7% in October. Excuse me. All these are from yesterday's or today's editorial, current news. Do remember, third, fourth, fifth. Very good. Whenever you come across rise, raise, you have to read twice. What does it talk about? Prices. Prices always go up. Then we have to use an irregular verb, rise, rose, risen. What is the other verb? Raise, raised, raised. So here, prices you cannot say raise. What is the right? The sun rises in the east. Very good. Here, the rise in prices. Many students have got it right. Wonderful. I appreciate. Go to the next one. This is a bit challenging. You got to read carefully. Only then you can answer. Rise, surge, spike, hike, uptick, escalate. Wonderful, Anusha. I really appreciate you. All of you. There's one student here, a few students. They always contribute a lot. And the one that stands out in the first position, Anusha. She always comes up with a lot of synonyms. A rise, sudden rise, spike, surge, hike, uptick, escalate. And when you see that, you can learn a few words, very useful. Very good. Keep it up, Anusha. Not exactly. Who is this? Pandu. Fifth one. Which part? Mention the part. Prices rise. Yes, Ganesh. Prices rise. No, you deserve it, Anusha. You deserve, by all means. Commendable. What is certain? No, no, no. Some students, Pandu, you are right. There is an error in the second part. But what is wrong with the second part? Excluding edible oils, which is not the correct word, whose, we have to use a relative pronoun, whose 13.7% year on year drop in prices played a role in moderating the consumer price index, would have meant a 5.6% rise in prices. Whose. What is this whose? A relative pronoun. Whose book is this? Whose? Good. Not easy, as I said. Today I have brought 5 questions based on idioms, 5 questions based on phrasal verbs. Then we go to consolidation of editorial vocabulary from yesterday's editorial. Here you see in a different color, these are idioms, and down you have the meanings you have to match. I'm going to have a cat nap while you're cooking dinner. So, what does it mean, cat nap? Here, options are here. Yes, Suresh, very good. I appreciate first one. Here, short sleep, a short sleep. Wonderful. Answer is, and for a short sleep, cat nap, we also say there's another word you have to recollect, doze off. Excuse me. There's a subtle difference between nap and doze off. Nap is usually deliberate, intentional, but doze off, you're waiting for someone, the class is very boring, then what happens? You doze off. That is also a short sleep, but unintentional, without your knowledge. I sleep in the basement during the dog days of May. Dog days means what? Very hot days, peak summer. So, fifth one. My friend made a beeline for the smoking room. Not a good thing. Should have been reading room. Better. Make a beeline means what? A rush for something. Answer is the second option. You have to recollect those both are entirely different. Scorching heat, sizzling heat, biting cold. Good. Arthur clammed up when I asked him about his family. Clam up means to become quiet suddenly. So answer is the third option. My teacher had a cow when she realized nobody had done the homework. Means happy or upset? Obviously, teacher gets upset when no one does the homework. So what is the answer here? Yes, Suresh, very good. Scorching sun, scorching heat. Has anyone got all the 5 correct? If you say yes, sir, I got, very good, highly appreciable. Let us go to phrasal verbs, a new pattern. You have a sentence with a blank. You have 5 phrasal verbs. You have to choose the appropriate based on contextual awareness. The publishers are planning to an expensive edition of their new dictionary. So, what is the correct phrasal verb? Three, good. You should be happy. 1, 4. Anusha says the first one, fourth option. What is the fourth option here? Bring out. Perfect. The publishers are planning to bring out. Bring out means publish. Obviously, publishers publish. Very good, Suresh. I appreciate that. The new employee seems to be, fifth one, well off. Very good. Well off means what? Very rich. You can also think of the word affluent, from an affluent family. Stinking rich, and also filthy rich, affluent, very rich. All these words you have to. Answer is the fifth one. The local communities against the gross injustice meted out to them, given to them, handed over to them. Cried out. No, no. Answer is the third one. Cry out means to protest publicly. To protest publicly. uh, Third one, answer is the third option. Cried out. No, 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 no. The rope gave way. Fourth one, second option. Gave way means to snap. Snap means a break suddenly or come apart suddenly. The wire snapped, the rope snapped. Everyday English we use. Snap. 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 Snap has many meanings. And the last one, our neighbors called on us. Call on means a visit. Visit, snap, protest publicly. Bring out, publish, well off, rich, very rich. Has anyone got all the five correct? No, meet, visit someone. Snapchat, yes. Snaps, photos. These are the words you got yesterday. We got 17 words. I have written you can see the part of speech. All that you have to do, tell the key word, and we'll try to finish off quickly. Seize. You don't have to, three correct, you should be happy. Two, Tripura Sundari, all the five, very good. And three, you should be happy. Suresh, and who else? Ganesh. Drop in. Yes, Hema, you're right. My friends dropped in yesterday. Drop in. Drop in goes with informal English, and call on goes with a formal situation. The Prime Minister called on the President. Means what? The Prime Minister visited the President. Grab with force. Yes, one student responds. I'll tick that word. We'll move on to the next one. Unfettered, unrestricted. Very good. Fraternity. Third one. I'm sorry. Fraternity. One word you have to think of. Fraternity means what? Brotherhood, one meaning, and people who belong to a particular profession. Medical fraternity, fashion fraternity, media fraternity, belong to a particular profession. Another meaning, brotherhood. Chilling message, chilling message from the editorial. Brotherhood, one meaning. Another meaning, people who belong to a particular profession. Frightening, threatening, intimidating, very good. Ominous, wonderful. Whistleblowers. When I was with an academy, I had a student, and that student also, one word, he would come up with five or six synonyms, antonyms, very good at vocabulary. Now, Anusha reminds me of that student. That's really good. Whistleblower, singular, employee of an organization who discloses information illegally or unofficially, not simple information, information that is rather negative, revealing secrets, disclosing. Yes, you can use akil. Good. Allegation, accusation, blaming someone without evidence. Flimsy reason. Flimsy means actually thin, but you're not strong. Silly, fragile, delicate, thin. Good. Impede, verb, impediment, noun. Impede means what? Good. Fragile, delicate, thin, brittle, weak. All these words you should have at your fingertips. Impede, block, bottleneck, hindrance, what obstacles, hardships, hurdles, obstructive, wonderful. All of you have a look at those words. She has been writing so many words. For one word, so many words. Impinge. Impinge means what? Affect. More than effect, affect. Excuse me, I have a bad throat. Please bear with it. I have to clear quite often. Which one? 10th one. Incriminate, involve, implicate. Implicate, the right word. You can also say involve, indict. Compel. We have got so many times. Compel means what? Force. Don't compel me means what? Don't force me. Protocols. Protocol. Frightened in. No. Frightened for which one? Not frightened. That is actually incriminate, implicate in a particular crime. Intimidate means frighten. Set of rules, yardstick, guidelines, regulations. But we always say official procedure. These words you have to remember. Official procedure, protocol. Tamper. I'm sure you all know. Tamper goes with everyday English. Rules and regulations for what? Protocol. Okay. No, better official procedure. CM has to follow the protocols when PM visits his state. Exactly. Very good, Ganesh. I appreciate that. So, tamper means what? No one has answered 13. Tamper. Manipulate, change. Correct. Clone, to replicate. Facsimile, exact copy of something. Not facsimile, facsimile. Deprive. Deprive means to take away the rights, lack of, dearth of, yes, inadequate, s- scarcity. It goes more with the rights, deprived of fundamental rights, deprived of access to something. Duplicate also you can say a kill. Good. Contain in the context of the editorial control. That is very important. Contain something, control something. It has other meanings. Vulnerable sections of the society means what? Ganesh, yes, facsimile, exact copy, replica, Xerox is not correct. A lot of people say, I want a Xerox copy. Wrong. You have to use the word photocopy. Xerox is the name of a company. It became very popular, so people started using that word. I want a Xerox copy. Absolutely wrong. Do remember, I want a photocopy. Please Xerox these pages. Wrong. Please photocopy these pages. Tirupati Rao, very good. Susceptible, weak, submissive, fragile, likely to be exploited. I appreciate your response. Today, response has been very good, but for the comprehension questions, other questions you have done well. Thanks for being with me till the fag end of the session. It's already 3 past 8, an hour and 3 minutes. I hope you guys have got enriched. Do remember to subscribe and share. I will see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow also I'll bring, and you all know SBI Junior Assistant notification out. So I'll bring questions based on SBI Junior Assistant, SBI PO special sessions. My pleasure. Thank you very much.